UK.
Yeah, I've sort of made a decision, pretty much, if you consider. Yeah, I think I want to find out what they're doing with them.
Yes.
You know, where they're sending them, I guess. I'd have to ask that question. That war should never have started, would have never started. Such bad judgment was used there. I think on both sides, by the way. But nobody looks good with the war with Russia and Ukraine. Nobody. That's been a horrible. This week they lost over 7,000 soldiers between the two of them. This is every week they're losing 7,000, 8,000, 5,000.
The American President Donald Trump has indicated that he's leaning towards supplying Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, but hasn't finalized on the decision yet. Now, this comes after Putin's warning against supplying such weapons to Ukraine. Tomahawk missiles have a range of about 2,500 kilometers, putting Moscow and other parts of eastern Russia within Ukraine's reach. And if supplied, these missiles will enhance Ukraine's strike capabilities, enabling it to target military bases, logistical hubs, and command centers deep inside the Russian territory. And according to the US think tank ISW, there are at least about 1,945 Russian military objects within the range of Tomahawk missiles. Now, Ukraine claims that the Tomahawks will help in deterring Putin and getting him to the negotiating table. However, the American President Donald Trump has said that he wants to know as to how Ukraine plans to use the missiles, citing concerns about escalation.
Yeah, I've sort of made a decision, pretty much, if you consider. Yeah, I think I want to find out what they're doing with them.
Yes.
You know, where are they sending them, I guess. I'd have to ask that question. That war should never have started, would have never started.
With this, after the Russian President Vladimir Putin on Sunday warned that supplying US Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine could trigger a whole new level of escalation, including in relations between Moscow and Washington.
There were issues raised, such as discussions about supply of new weapon systems to Ukraine, including long-range and high-precision systems like Tomahawks. I have already said that this will lead to the destruction of our relations, or at least the positive trends that have emerged in these relations.
So as the US considers supplying Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, the country already employs several advanced weapon systems against Russia, and amongst them are the US-supplied Army Tactical Missile Systems, also known as the ATACMS, and the Guided Multiple Launch Rocket Systems. While ATACMS have a strike range of nearly about 300 kilometers, the GMLRS, fired from US-made HIMARS launchers, have an approximate range of about 80 kilometers since the start of the war. Ukraine has also used American-manufactured Patriot missiles to defend against Russian airstrikes. In addition, the Ukrainian forces have reportedly been using Storm Shadow missiles developed jointly by France and the United Kingdom, which have a range of about 560 kilometers. And these precision-guided missiles provide Ukraine with critical long-range strike capabilities. Furthermore, Ukraine has reportedly begun mass production of its new domestically produced FP5, that is the Flamingo cruise missile, which has a range of nearly 3,000 kilometers, and it can carry a warhead that weighs about 1,150 kilograms. And according to President Volodymyr Zelensky, the recent Ukrainian military attacks on Russian infrastructure have also included the use of the domestically produced missiles. The Flamingos have been instrumental in Ukraine's military efforts, having recently been launched against targets in Crimea and other locations. According to reports, Ukraine is currently manufacturing 2 to 3 Flamingo missiles per day, with plans to increase production to at least 7 per day by the end of October.
In recent days, Ukraine has been using exclusively Ukrainian products, not just drones. And from those strikes, I think people can understand, from the fragments that are on social networks, where drones were used, and where non-drones were used.
Tensions between Russia and the United States just hit a dangerous new level. On camera, Vladimir Putin issued what he called his final warning to Donald Trump. Yes, the same Trump who was already stirring the geopolitical pot with his bold foreign policy talk. Well, the reason for Putin's anger here? Reports say that Washington might supply Tomahawk cruise missile to Ukraine, a move that Moscow says would cross a red line. Well, let's break this down first. The Tomahawk isn't just another missile that we are talking about. It is one of America's most powerful long-range weapons, capable of hitting targets around 2,500 kilometers away, and that's enough to reach deep into Russian territory from almost anywhere in Europe. So, when Putin heard that US Vice President Mr. J.D. Vance was considering Ukraine's request for these missiles, he didn't stay silent. He called it a new stage of escalation that could actually destroy the relationship between Moscow and Washington. Well, Putin's message, it was loud, it was clear. If the US sends Tomahawks to Ukraine, Russia will consider it a direct American involvement in the war. Well, it is a serious statement because it means that Moscow could respond not just against Ukraine, but possibly against NATO assets supporting it. Now here's the twist. Inside Washington, officials are reportedly divided. Some believe that Ukraine desperately needs these long-range missiles to counter Russian strikes and regain their territory, while others warn that such a move could drag America into a full-blown confrontation with Russia. The Pentagon, they have also quietly said that Tomahawks, they are currently prioritized for the US Navy's own defense systems, but European allies, specifically the UK and Poland, they are already exploring alternatives, long-range options just to support Kyiv. In the meantime, Russia isn't just talking, it is preparing. Satellite images show increased military activities near its western borders, and analysts say that Moscow could deploy more Iskander missiles and S-400 defense systems to shield itself from any new threat. In fact, Russian state TV, as always, has gone into overdrive, warning of unimaginable consequences if the US crosses this red line. So the question is, what's really happening here? Well, it's not just about missiles. It is about power, prestige, and pressure. The US wants to show that it still stands firmly with Ukraine, but it also knows that pushing too far could provoke a direct Russia-NATO clash. On the other hand, we have Mr. Putin. He wants to remind the world that Russia won't be bullied. Not by sanctions, not by weapons, and definitely not by Mr. Trump. So in short, this is no longer just a war in Ukraine. It is a high-stakes poker game between two of the world's most unpredictable leaders. And as Putin issues his second and final warning, the world holds its breath, because the next move, whether it's a shipment of missiles or a military strike, could change the balance of power in the Europe, and that too forever. So, will Trump really risk it or back down before the world steps into a new Cold War 2.0?
Large parts of Kyiv were plunged into darkness in the early hours of Friday after Russian forces pummeled Ukrainian energy facilities in a heavy overnight attack. At least one person was killed, a 7-year-old child in the southeast, and at least 20 people were injured. The mass Russian drone attack also triggered a fire in a high-rise apartment building in central Kyiv. Hundreds of thousands were temporarily left without power, which was cut to 9 regions. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the civilian and energy infrastructure is the main target of Russia's strikes as winter approaches. He called for more support from allies in the form of air defense systems and sanctions. For many Kyiv residents, the day started with power cuts, disruptions in the water supply and transport delays.
We didn't sleep at all tonight. From 2:30 there was so much noise. By 3:30 we had no electricity, no gas, no water, nothing.
Ukrainian private energy firm DTEK said its thermal power plants had suffered significant damage but did not immediately provide further details. The government said it expected the capital's water supply to be restored by the end of Friday. Power was also reaching critical infrastructure as repairs were being made.
President, you are buying icebreakers from Finland.
Yeah.
But what if Russia and Vladimir Putin attacks Finland? Would you defend Finland?
I would, yes, I would. They're a member of NATO. I would. They're great people, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to do that. Yeah. I think the chances of that are very, very small. But it's very interesting because you have a military to your size. You have a very powerful military, one of the best. Certainly, we will be there to help. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, please.
Mr. President, thank you. We have a big border, as our president said. How would you exactly defend Finland? And yeah, thank you.
Say what?
How would you defend Finland?
Vigorously.
Can I just add on that? We're very pleased with the fact that we have so much training going on with American soldiers right now, so they're getting experience from Arctic conditions, and we're integrating our militaries together, working not only through the DCA agreement, but other ways as well. We see that day to day in the work that we do, and it's working well.
Okay? Please.
Yeah, thank you. How do you see this?
From?
I'm from Finland too.
Yeah, a lot of Finns.
It's very impressive.
So, Mr.
I like
President,
them better than our reporters.
thank you. So, how do you see the situation in the Arctic developing? Are there going to be any mutual plans for Finland and U.S. to cooperate?
We have a lot of relationships together. I mean, mostly buying our military equipment. They buy a lot of it. They have an order, I guess, 60 planes, 64 F-35s, and many other things too. It's a big order. Big countries don't order that many planes. You know, it's
10 billion.
You have a lot of aircraft, a lot of great military. We make the best military equipment. They buy a lot from us, so it's very good. We're going to work together very closely with Finland and with NATO. We have a very good relationship. As you know, I requested that they pay 5%, not 2%, and most people thought that was not going to happen, and it happened virtually unanimously. We had one laggard. It was Spain. Spain. You have to call them and find why are they a laggard, and they're doing well too. You know, the funny thing, because of a lot of the things we've done, they're doing fine. They have no excuse not to do this, but that's all right. Maybe you should throw them out of NATO, frankly.
Especially when it comes to their advanced and sophisticated nature. And we are actively developing all of this. What I said in previous times, in previous years, is all being developed. We are perfecting it, and I think we will have the opportunity to announce in the near future a new weapon that we once announced. It is emerging, undergoing tests here, and those tests are going successfully.
As is already known, you have proposed extending the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, which is set to expire very soon on February 26th of this year. And judging by the initial statements coming out of Washington, it seems that Trump is not opposed. Are there any signals, perhaps through back channels, that Washington is indeed ready to engage in such consultations? Will 4 months be enough to get all of this done in time? And am I correct in understanding that a new face-to-face meeting will be required? A meeting between you and your American counterpart?
Thank you. We do have contact through the Foreign Ministry and the State Department. Will these few months be enough to make a decision on the extension? I think it will be sufficient, provided there is genuine goodwill to extend these agreements. And if the American side decides that they don't need this, it's not critical for us at all. Everything is going according to plan for us in this regard. I've already mentioned this, and it's no secret. The truly remarkable and significant novelty of our current nuclear deterrence capabilities indeed surpasses that of any other major global nuclear state in the world, especially when it comes to their advanced and sophisticated nature. And we are actively developing all of this. What I said in previous times, in previous years, is all being developed. We are perfecting it, and I think we will have the opportunity to announce in the near future a new weapon that we once announced. It is emerging, undergoing tests here, and those tests are going successfully. As for the intercontinental component at sea and in the air, I repeat, the novelty and modernity, as the military say, are at a very high level for us, and we are maintaining that. We are ready to negotiate if, for the American side, this will be acceptable and beneficial. If not, then not, but it would be a pity, because then there would be nothing left at all in terms of deterrence in the field of strategic offensive arms. To link the Nobel Peace Prize with arms supplies is absurd and simply speaks to the overall level of understanding of the current Kiev regime as a whole.
You mentioned that one of the countries is preparing to test nuclear weapons. Please tell me, is this country the United States? If, as you said, Russia gives a symmetrical response and also tests nuclear weapons, will not this set our countries and all of humanity back to the 1990s, when the whole world stopped testing nuclear weapons, and will not this provoke a new nuclear arms race between Moscow and Washington?
Thank you. I think that in reality, to be honest, there is a certain arms race going on. Whether this will set us back or not, it's hard to say. But I did not say that the United States is preparing for this. I said that some countries are preparing for tests, but this is also well known to specialists, because there is always the temptation to check the effectiveness of the warhead fuel stored in missiles. To live. For many, many years, all of this has been simulated on computers. Specialists believe that's sufficient, but some of these specialists think that real-life tests should be conducted. And in some countries, as far as we know, they're even preparing for this. So I said that if they conduct such tests, we will do the same. Well, is this good or bad? From the point of view, from the standpoint of ensuring security, it's good in terms of the overall picture related to deterrence. Any actions aimed at, if not reducing, then at least restraining the arms race, well, that's probably not a bad thing. But in this same context, there's also our proposal to extend the New START treaty for at least 1 year.
No tomahawks will truly solve this critical issue. This only escalates the entire situation to the point of nuclear war. Probably, Donald Trump understands this better than anyone, as he is in no hurry to hand over this deadly weapon or to allow strikes deep into Russia, as President Zelensky hopes. Washington's actions are currently being carried out both in the broader context of resolving the ongoing regional crisis around Ukraine and in active pursuit of its own strategic interests in Eastern Europe and the world as a whole. Well, that's normal. If the Americans want to resolve the conflict in Ukraine and see some small role for us there, we are ready to participate in that. We have stated our position: peace, peace, and only peace. Ukraine must exist as a sovereign, independent state. We are absolutely in favor of stopping this devastating war now. Otherwise, this truly independent sovereign state will completely cease to exist. All the more so since some are already eyeing the western regions, you know precisely who, the western regions of Ukraine and of Belarus as well, already living by some kind of fervent Holy Spirit of Piłsudski. He dreams of this powerful spirit, or rather is entirely possessed by it. Well, such foolishness, if that's the case, you should just keep quiet. But that's their issue. That's just the kind of people they are. That's why, for us, a sovereign, independent Ukraine is a major and fundamental issue. It should be truly peaceful, create no problems or threats for anyone else, and develop as a fully independent state. We support this, we are for peace, and in this regard, we are ready to work. My recent meetings with the President of Russia actually clearly show that the Russian leadership, are genuinely focused on establishing peace. No tomahawks will truly solve this critical issue. This only escalates the entire situation to the point of nuclear war. Probably, Donald Trump understands this better than anyone, as he is in no hurry to hand over this deadly weapon or to allow strikes deep into Russia, as President Zelensky hopes. I believe that Belarus, as Russia's closest ally in resolving the Ukrainian crisis and in building the architecture of regional security, is assigned, as I have already said, a certain role. The Americans have noticed us in this process.
I hope that I will have possibility to come to Washington and have a meeting on Friday with President. And of course, I have some more meetings which are also important for me. Some military companies which are important. I want to not to share details about it, and also maybe also some meetings with senators, congressmen. The main topics are air defense and our possibilities with long range to pressure on Russia.
Нанесет ли это ущерб нашим отношениям, в которых наметился какой-то свет в конце туннеля? Конечно, нанесет. Ну а как же? Применять томагавки без прямого участия американских военнослужащих невозможно. Это будет означать абсолютно новый, качественно новый этап эскалации, в том числе в отношениях между Россией и Соединенными Штатами.